The third place at night. A Starbucks sleep story. The lamps are glowing. Welcome. The night has arrived, and with it comes a gentle quieting of the world around you, a softening of sounds and lights and expectations, a slow unwinding that needs nothing from you except your willingness to rest. You have found your way here, to this moment, to this story, and that is enough. Simply arriving is enough. Let your body find its place now. Whatever position feels most comfortable, whatever arrangement of pillows and blankets allows you to release the smallest bit of tension you may not have even noticed you are holding. Your pillow can hold your head completely. You don't need to hold it up anymore. The surface beneath you is steady and reliable, and you can let it do its work of supporting you. Just as you might lean against a familiar counter in a quiet room and trust that it will hold your weight without question. And so we begin with the breath, because the breath is always a doorway. Take a slow breath in. If you like, not a big breath or a perfect breath, just an easy breath that fills you gently the way warm air fills a room when a door opens to a heated space. Let that breath arrive without rushing it, without measuring it, without judging whether it was deep enough or long enough or right in any particular way. And then let it go. A soft exhale, like steam rising from a cup and dissolving into nothing. The exhale needs no effort. It simply leaves. And if another breath wants to come, let it come on its own schedule, arriving like a quiet guest who knows where everything is and needs no instructions. You might notice your chest rising slightly. You might notice it falling, or you might not notice anything at all. And that is perfectly fine, too, because your body knows how to breathe without your attention, has been doing so all along, and will continue through the night while you rest. One more easy breath, if it feels right. A slow wave in, a slow wave out, like the gentlest tide you can imagine, arriving and departing on a shore made of sand so fine makes no sound at all. Now, as your breathing continues on its own, soft and steady and requiring nothing from you, you might allow your attention to drift toward your face, toward the small muscles around your eyes and forehead that so often hold tension without permission. These muscles can soften now. Your forehead can smooth, just slightly, like a wrinkled cloth slowly settling flat on a warm surface. The space between your eyebrows can widen, can ease, can stop holding whatever expression it has been holding all day. It's okay if you don't follow every word I say. It's okay if your mind wanders to other thoughts and returns and wanders again. That is simply what minds do. And there is nothing wrong with a wandering mind in the nighttime. Let your attention be loose. Let it drift. Your jaw can release now, if it hasn't already. The teeth don't need to press together. The tongue can rest easy in your mouth, perhaps just barely touching the roof, perhaps floating somewhere neutral and relaxed. There is no correct position. There is only softness, only the absence of gripping. Your jaw has worked all day, speaking and chewing and holding expressions, and now it can simply rest, heavy and warm and unbothered. And your shoulders, your shoulders, they can drop a little further, even now, even if you thought they had already dropped as far as they could go. There is almost always a little more release available in the shoulders. Let them sink toward your mattress, toward the surface, holding you as if they are slowly melting into something soft and yielding. You don't need to hold them up. You don't need to hold anything up. The night is here to hold you. Your hands, wherever they are resting, can go loose and open. The fingers don't need to curl or grip. The palms can soften. The wrists can let go of any remaining tension. And you might imagine that your hands are growing pleasantly heavy, as if they are sinking gently into warm sand, or resting on a counter that has been warmed by hours of afternoon sunlight. This is enough. This settling is enough. There is nowhere else you need to be. And now, as your body continues to soften and your breathing continues its gentle rhythm, I want to tell you about a place, a quiet place, a place we will return to again and again throughout this night. Like a familiar room you can always find your way back to, no matter how far your thoughts may wander. Imagine, if you will, a small coffee shop at night. The customers have gone home. The door has been locked. The sign in the window has been turned from open to closed, and that simple reversal has changed everything about the space, has transformed it from a place of movement and transaction into something still and complete. The chairs have been placed upside down on the tables, their legs pointing gently upward like the masts of small boats at rest in a harbor. And this creates a kind of quiet orderliness that is deeply satisfying to look at. Rows of chairs, all aligned, all positioned, just so. Clean and ready, quietly clean and ready for whatever tomorrow may bring. But not thinking about tomorrow, not yet. Just resting in the stillness of now. A few warm lamps are still glowing, casting soft pools of amber light across the counter and the floor and the edges of the espresso machine that has been wiped down and powered off for the night. The chrome surfaces of that machine are still faintly warm to the touch, still releasing the last of the day's heat into the air. And if you placed your palm flat against the metal, you would feel that residual warmth, that gentle giving off of temperature that is so much like the way a body releases the tensions of the day during sleep. The counter is clean. Someone has wiped it down with a damp cloth and then dried it with a soft towel. And now the surface gleams faintly in the lamplight, smooth and uncluttered, holding nothing but the reflection of the warm light above it. From somewhere in the back of the shop comes a low refrigerator hum, a steady and reliable sound that never changes pitch, never surprises, never demands anything from you. It is the sound of quiet machinery doing its work, keeping things cool and preserved, and it becomes a kind of background music for this scene. A single sustained note that holds the space together. And there is another sound too, so soft you might almost miss it. The faint tick of cooling metal, the espresso machine contracting just slightly as its temperature drops toward the temperature of the room around it. Tick, tick, tick. Not regular like a clock, but occasional, unpredictable, and somehow soothing in its randomness. A tiny settling sound, a sound of something letting go. The air in this place carries a gentle scent, the ghost of coffee beans and steamed milk. But underneath that, there is something cleaner, something that might be dish soap or the particular neutrality of a space that has been wiped down and put in order. It is a good smell, a safe smell, a smell that says everything here has been taken care of. Outside the windows, the night is quiet. Perhaps there is the faintest sound of distant traffic, a soft hush like breathing, or perhaps there is no sound at all. Just the particular quality of silence that comes when the world has turned its attention elsewhere and left this small space to rest in peace. This is the coffee shop at night. This is the anchor place. You can return here whenever you like. Before we go any further, I should tell you, in the calmest and most reassuring way, that Starbucks and related marks are trademarks of Starbucks Corporation. This is simply a fan-made sleep story for relaxation and entertainment, not affiliated with or endorsed by Starbucks, and certainly not business or financial advice of any kind. We are not here to analyze or strategize or make decisions. We are here to rest. We are here to drift. We are here to let a gentle story carry us through the night like a slow current carrying a leaf downstream. And so, with that understanding in place, we can continue. You might notice that your body has continued to relax while I've been describing this quiet coffee shop, that your muscles have softened just a little more without your having to try. That is how it works sometimes. The body responds to images of calm and stillness by becoming calmer and more still itself, as if it recognizes rest when it sees it described and wants to match that feeling in its own tissues and fibers. Let your eyelids grow heavy now, if they haven't already. They can rest closed or half closed, whatever feels most natural. The weight of your eyelids is a pleasant weight, a permission weight, a signal to the rest of your body that the time for alertness has passed and the time for sleep has arrived. In the quiet coffee shop, the lamps continue to glow. The refrigerator continues its low and steady hum. The last warmth of the espresso machine continues to radiate into the room. And somewhere, a drop of water that has been slowly gathering at the edge of a cleaned pitcher finally releases and falls with the softest possible sound into the basin of the sink below. A single drop, a tiny letting go, and then silence again. The air in the shop is perfectly still now, neither warm nor cool, just neutral. Just present, just there. And the night outside the windows continues to deepen, the darkness growing richer and softer, like a blanket being drawn slowly across the world. You are safe here. You are held here. You are allowed to rest. And as we settle further into this stillness, as the night grows quieter and your body grows heavier and your thoughts begin to slow their endless spinning, we might soon begin to wonder how a place like this came to be, how the first ideas of warmth and coffee and gathering began to take shape in a distant city, in a time that feels very far away now, as soft and blurred as a dream you can only half remember. But there is no rush. There is never any rush in a story told for sleeping. We will arrive at those early beginnings when we arrive, gently, slowly, like the way morning light eventually finds its way through curtains, changing nothing but the quality of the stillness. For now, just rest. For now, just breathe. For now, just let the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the faint tick of cooling metal and the soft weight of your blanket remind you that everything here is peaceful. Everything here is still, and the night has all the time in the world. Wipe, rinse, rest. The quiet coffee shop remains just as we left it. Lamps glowing soft amber across the clean counter. The refrigerator humming its low and steady note somewhere in the back, and the night pressing gently against the windows like a patient visitor who knows there is no need to knock. The chairs still rest upside down on the tables, their legs pointing upward in neat rows, and the air still carries that faint mingling of coffee and clean soap that tells you everything here has been cared for. Everything here has been put to rest. You are still here, too, settled and breathing, and that is exactly where you belong. Let us stay in this place a little longer. Let us watch the quiet rituals of closing, the gentle loops of tasks that repeat each night with small variations. The way a person might move through these familiar motions without hurrying, without stress, simply doing what needs to be done and finding a kind of peace in the doing. Imagine someone standing at the counter now, a soft towel in hand, wiping down a surface that is already clean but benefits from one more pass. One more gentle sweep of cloth across laminate. The motion is slow and circular, unhurried, and the towel makes a soft shushing sound as it moves, like a whisper that means nothing in particular but is comforting to hear. Wipe the counter. Feel the slight drag of the towel against the surface, the way it catches just barely and then releases, catches and releases, a rhythm that requires no thought. Then the towel is rinsed in warm water, and you can almost feel the warmth of that water if you imagine your own hands submerged in it. The pleasant heat surrounding your fingers and palms, softening any remaining tension you might be holding there. The water swirls faintly as the towel is squeezed, wrung out with a gentle twist, and then the excess drips back into the sink with a sound like very quiet rain, like drops falling one at a time into a still pool. Your hands can relax now, even more than they already have. They can feel heavy and warm, as if they have just been in that water, as if they carry that residual heat. The rinsed towel is folded once, then twice, then hung over the edge of the sink to dry. A small stack of clean pitchers waits nearby, already washed earlier in the evening, and now they are lifted one at a time and placed on a shelf where they belong. The metal is cool to the touch, and each pitcher makes a soft clink as it meets the shelf, a tiny sound of something finding its place. Stack the pitchers, listen to the clink, feel the coolness of the metal against your imagined fingertips. Then a label is peeled from a roll, the adhesive making a soft tearing sound as it separates. And the label is pressed onto a container of milk, marking the date, marking the time, a small act of order that will help someone tomorrow, but requires nothing from you tonight. The label is smoothed flat with one finger, pressed gently into place, and then the container is returned to the refrigerator. And the door closes with a soft seal of suction, a gentle thump that says done. And now a pause, a breath, a moment of simply standing in the quiet space and noticing that the work is good, that the space is ready, that there is nothing urgent left to do. You might let your own breath slow here, matching the rhythm of this imagined pause. Your chest can rise gently. Your chest can fall. There is no schedule to keep. There is only the soft hum of the refrigerator and the stillness of the night. Another loop begins, this one involving a broom. The broom is taken from its place in a narrow closet, and the bristles are soft from years of use, yielding and quiet against the floor. The sweeping begins near the back of the shop and moves slowly forward, gathering the small debris of the day, the tiny fragments that accumulate without anyone noticing, crumbs and dust, and the occasional grain of sugar that escaped from a packet hours ago. Sweep, sweep, sweep. The sound is rhythmic and soft, like something breathing, like something sighing. The bristles whisper against the tile in long, slow strokes. It's perfectly fine if your mind has wandered during this description. It's perfectly fine if you've lost track of the words and drifted into something that looks more like sleep than listening. That is exactly what this story is for. You don't need to follow along. You don't need to remember anything. You only need to rest. The sweeping continues, moving between tables, moving around the legs of chairs that are still upside down and waiting, and the person with the broom pauses occasionally to push a chair slightly, to align it more perfectly with its neighbor, though the alignment was already close enough. There is a quiet satisfaction in this small adjustment, a pleasure in making things just so, even when no one will notice, even when the difference is barely visible. Align the chairs. Feel the gentle resistance of wood against your palm as you nudge each one into place. Hear the soft scrape of chair legs against table surface. So quiet it is almost not a sound at all. The lights are checked next. A small panel near the back of the shop controls the various lamps and fixtures, and each switch is confirmed to be in its proper position, some on and some off. creating the particular arrangement of light and shadow that belongs to closing time. A tiny click as one switch is toggled. Just to be sure. Click, and then silent again. Your eyelids can grow heavier now, like small curtains slowly being drawn. They don't need to stay open. They don't need to do anything at all. Near the front of the shop, a section of counter that was already wiped receives one more pass, one more gentle sweep of a different cloth. This one slightly damp, leaving the surface with a faint gleam that catches the lamplight and holds it. The wiping is almost meditative, almost unnecessary, but it feels right, and so it is done. Wipe again. Hear the soft shush of cloth on surface. Feel the slight coolness of the damp fabric against your imagined palm. And then another pause, another breath. The person stands still for a moment, looking at the room they have prepared, feeling the quiet satisfaction of completion, and the refrigerator hums its agreement, and the night outside continues its slow and patient work of deepening. A third loop, gentler still. Small containers need restocking, the kind that hold sugar packets and wooden stirrers and paper sleeves for cups. Each container is lifted, its contents assessed, and then items are added from a supply kept beneath the counter. The sugar packets make a soft rustling sound as they are placed, like leaves settling, like something finding rest. Restock the sugars. Feel the light weight of each packet between your fingers. So light it is almost nothing, almost air. The wooden stirrers are counted without counting, estimated by feel, and a small handful is added to their container, the thin sticks making a quiet clatter, like very distant wind chimes, like bamboo in a gentle breeze. They settle into place and go still. Your thoughts can settle like that. Your thoughts can find their container and go still. They don't need to keep moving. They don't need to keep stirring. The paper sleeves are straightened in their holder, their edges aligned with small adjustments of fingertips. And this task is so simple, so requiring of nothing, that it becomes almost peaceful to imagine, almost restful just to think about. Straighten the sleeves, nudge them into alignment. Feel the smooth paper beneath your touch. And then, standing still again, the person simply listens to the hum of the refrigerator, that constant low note that has been present all along, that will be present all night, that asks for nothing and offers a kind of companionship in sound. The hum is like breathing. The hum is like the pulse of the building itself. slow and reliable and utterly without urgency. Listen to the hum. Let it become a background for everything else. Let it hold the space the way a frame holds a picture, present but undemanding. And breathe. A slow breath in, a slow breath out. The rhythm of the body matching the rhythm of the room, both settling, both slowing, both preparing for the long, quiet hours ahead. Your body knows how to rest. Your body has been resting since before you can remember, since infancy, since the very beginning of your life. It knows the way into sleep, the way water knows the way downhill. Naturally, inevitably, without having to think or try. You can trust your body to find that way again tonight. Your thoughts can settle like coffee grounds after brewing, drifting slowly downward, coming to rest at the bottom of the cup while the liquid above grows clear and still. There is no need to stir them up. There is no need to examine them. They can simply settle, and you can simply rest. In the coffee shop, the last tasks of closing are complete now. Everything that needed wiping has been wiped. Everything that needed stacking has been stacked. The labels are in place. The sweeping is done. The chairs are aligned in their rows, legs pointing upward, patient and still. The person who did all this work has put away the broom, has hung the towels to dry, has taken one last look around the room to confirm that everything is in order. And now they move toward the back, toward a door that leads to a small office, or perhaps to the outside, and soon the shop will be empty of people altogether, and only the lamps and the hum and the quiet will remain. A light is switched off somewhere in the back. Click. The sound is soft and final, like a period at the end of a sentence, like an eyelid closing. And now the shop is quieter still. The lamplight remains, warm and amber, but it seems softer now, dimmer somehow, as if it too is settling into rest. The refrigerator hums on. The espresso machine has grown cool at last. Its metal no longer ticking. Its chrome reflecting the gentle light without comment. Outside, the night has deepened further. If there were stars visible, they would be the kind of stars that seem very far away and very patient, asking nothing, simply shining. If there were rain, it would be the gentlest rain, barely more than mist, barely more than a memory of rain. The air in the shop is still. The scent of coffee has faded to almost nothing. leaving only the clean neutrality of a space at rest. The chairs wait. The counter gleams. The clock on the wall, if there is one, ticks so quietly that it cannot be heard unless you listen very closely. And there is no need to listen closely, no need to track the time, no need for anything at all. You can feel the weight of your blanket now, if you are under one. You can feel the way it drapes across your body, holding you gently, keeping you warm. The weight is reassuring. The weight is like the weight of the quiet in this room, present and comforting and asking nothing. And somewhere in the deep quiet of this imagined place, there is the beginning of a thought, not quite formed yet, not quite ready to be spoken. It is a thought about how places like this come to be, about the seeds of ideas that grow slowly over years into something familiar and warm. It is a thought about a city far away and a time long ago, about people who imagined something that did not yet exist and wondered if it might be worth creating. But that thought can wait. It can drift toward us slowly, like the scent of coffee drifting through an open door. For now, there is only the quiet shop, only the hum, only the soft amber light and the stillness of the night. And you resting here, exactly where you belong. A seed in the rain. The quiet coffee shop holds its stillness like a cupped hand holding something precious. The lamps still glowing their soft amber. The counter still gleaming faintly in the low light. And the refrigerator still humming its one continuous note that has become as familiar now as your own breathing. Nothing has changed here. Nothing needs to change. The chairs remain upside down on their tables. The night remains pressed gently against the windows. And the air remains that perfect blend of clean and calm that belongs only to spaces that have been carefully tended and then left to rest. You are still here too, still settling, still softening into whatever depth of relaxation feels right for you in this moment. And now, as we rest together in this quiet place, we might let our thoughts drift backward, not with any urgency or precision, but the way a leaf might drift on a slow current, carried gently towards something that happened long ago, toward the very beginning of an idea that would eventually become the kind of place where lamps glow soft and counters gleam, and the hum of refrigerators keeps quiet company through the night. There was a city, once, in the far corner of a country where rain fell often and the air carried the particular freshness that comes from being near water, near mountains, near forests that stretched green and endless beyond the edges of town. The city was not large then, not yet, and its streets held a kind of quiet that allowed people to notice small things, to pay attention to details, to care about the difference between something done well and something done merely adequately. You don't need to remember the name of this city. You don't need to hold on to any of these details. They are just shapes in the fog. Just gentle outlines of a story that is more feeling than fact. In this city, in a time that feels very distant now, there were people who loved coffee. Not coffee as a quick habit. Not coffee as a jolt to get through the morning, but coffee as something worth attending to, worth learning about, worth treating with the same care you might give to anything that brings genuine pleasure to a life. These people thought about beans. They thought about where beans came from, how they were grown, how they were harvested by hands in distant places where the sun was warm and the soil was rich and the altitude was just right for the slow development of flavor. They thought about how those beans traveled across oceans in burlap sacks, carrying with them the essence of hillsides and seasons and the particular minerals of faraway earth. Your chest can soften now, if it hasn't already. The muscles between your ribs can release their holding, and your breath can move more freely, more easily, like something that has been given permission to take up space. The people who loved coffee also thought about roasting. They understood that raw beans, green and dense and almost flavorless, could be transformed by heat into something entirely different, something aromatic and complex and capable of producing a drink that could change the quality of a morning. The roasting was an art. The timing mattered. The temperature mattered. The listening mattered. Because the beans would crack and pop at certain moments, and those sounds told a story about what was happening inside, about the chemistry of transformation, about the slow magic of heat and time. But we don't need to understand the chemistry. We don't need to follow the science. We can simply imagine the warmth of a roasting room, the way the air would smell as green beans slowly darken to brown, the gentle sounds of crackling and settling, and the patience required to watch and wait and know exactly when the transformation was complete. In the quiet coffee shop where we rest, the air still carries a ghost of that transformation, a faint memory of beans that were once roasted with care, And that memory is part of what makes this place feel safe and warm and good. The first shop was small, very small, the kind of small that feels intimate rather than cramped, the kind of small where you could see everything from the doorway, where nothing was hidden, where the people who worked there were always close enough to speak with in a normal voice, no shouting, no distance. It's perfectly all right if you're drifting now. It's perfectly all right if these words are becoming sounds more than meanings. A gentle murmur in the background of your settling. That is exactly how it should be. The story will continue whether you follow it or not. And you can trust it to carry you where you need to go. The small shop was filled with beans, not brewed coffee, not at first, but bags and bins and containers of whole roasted beans, each one labeled with its origin, each one carrying its own particular character. There were beans from places with names that sounded like music, places where coffee grew on mountainsides and was picked by hand and dried in the sun before beginning its long journey to this small shop in a rainy city. The people who ran this shop wanted others to experience what they had experienced. The revelation of truly good coffee prepared with care. They would measure beans into bags for customers to take home. They would explain, gently and without pretension, how to grind the beans, how much water to use, how long to let the coffee brew. They were teachers as much as sellers, and their lessons were always patient, always kind, always offered with the understanding that everyone starts somewhere, and no question is too simple to deserve a thoughtful answer. Imagine standing in that small shop, if you like. Imagine the wooden floors worn smooth by years of footsteps. Imagine the warm light from simple fixtures overhead, not too bright, not too dim, just enough to see the rich colors of the beans in their containers. The deep browns and the darker browns and the almost black of the darkest roasts. The air would smell extraordinary, layer upon layer of coffee aroma, each variety contributing its own note to the overall composition, creating something complex and inviting and deeply, deeply comforting. And the sounds would be simple. The soft rustle of paper bags, the quiet click of a scale being adjusted, the low murmur of conversation between people who cared about what they were doing and wanted to share that care with others. We can return now to the quiet shop where we began, where the lamps still glow and the counter still gleams, and the hum continues its patient accompaniment to the night. Feel the weight of your body against whatever surface holds you. feel how gravity does its gentle work of pulling you downward, not harshly but steadily, like a hand resting on your chest, like a blanket settling more fully around your form. You don't need to resist this weight. You can let it press you deeper into rest, deeper into softness, deeper into the particular peace that belongs to the nighttime hours. Outside the windows of our quiet shop, the weather has shifted slightly. There might be a fine mist now. Not quite rain, but something close. Something that catches the light from street lamps and turns the air into something visible. Something soft and silver and suspended. Or perhaps there is no mist, only the particular stillness that comes before mist, the heaviness in the air that suggests moisture without yet delivering it. The refrigerator hums on. The chairs wait in their rows. The clock, if there is one, continues its quiet work of marking time that no one needs to track. In this stillness, we can hold both places at once. The quiet shop of the present and the small shop of long ago, and we can notice how they rhyme with each other, how they share certain qualities of warmth and care and attention to detail. The first shop was the seed. The quiet shop where we rest is one of many flowers that eventually bloomed from that seed. And the blooming took years, took patience, took the slow accumulation of small decisions made well. But we don't need to trace that blooming tonight. We don't need to follow the timeline or understand the progression. We can simply rest in the knowledge that seeds become flowers, that small beginnings lead to familiar endings, that the warmth we feel in places like this has its roots in care that was planted long ago by people who believed that attention to quality matters, that doing things well is its own reward. Your belly can soften now. The muscles of your abdomen, which so often hold tension without your awareness, can release and let go. Your breath can drop lower in your body, filling not just your chest, but also the soft space below your ribs. And this deeper breath is an easier breath, a more restful breath, a breath that signals to your whole system that safety has arrived and vigilance can stand down. In the early days of that small shop in the rainy city, there were experiments, small experiments, quiet experiments, the kind of trying and learning that happens when people care about getting something right and are willing to adjust, to refine, to pay attention to what works and what doesn't. A different roast profile might be tested. The beans heated a little longer or a little shorter, and then tasted with attention, with curiosity, with the honest question of whether this version was better or worse than the last. The answer was never rushed. The answer was allowed to emerge from careful consideration, from multiple tastings, from the slow accumulation of experience. A different way of displaying the beans might be tried, the containers rearranged, the labels rewritten in clearer language, the whole presentation of the shop adjusted slightly to help customers understand what was being offered and why it mattered. These were tiny changes, almost invisible to anyone who wasn't looking closely, but they added up over time into something that felt more and more right, more and more welcoming, more and more like a place where the quality of the coffee was matched by the quality of the experience of buying it. You don't need to follow these experiments. You don't need to track the improvements. You can simply know that they happened, that care was taken, that attention was paid, and that this attention is part of what you feel when you walk into a place that has been thoughtfully created. Even if you can't identify exactly what makes it feel so good, the quiet shop holds us still. The lamps are perhaps slightly dimmer now, or perhaps that is only the way our eyes perceive them as we settle further into rest. The hum continues. The counter gleams. The night outside has grown deeper, the mist thickening slightly or perhaps dissipating entirely. It doesn't matter. What matters is that the night is there and the shop is here and you are safe and the story continues to unfold at its own gentle pace. Your back can release against the surface beneath you. The muscles along your spine, which work so hard during the waking hours to hold you upright and balanced, can surrender that work now. You are lying down or reclining, and your back doesn't need to do anything at all. It can simply rest, simply be held, simply let the bed or the chair or whatever supports you do all the work of supporting. Somewhere in the past, in that small shop, in that rainy city, people were learning what it meant to share something they loved. They were discovering, one customer at a time, that there were others who wanted what they wanted, who valued what they valued, who were willing to take the time to learn how to prepare coffee well because they understood, or were beginning to understand, that the difference was worth the effort. These were tiny wins. A customer who came back a second time, then a third. A conversation that sparked genuine enthusiasm. A moment when someone tasted a new variety and their eyes widened with surprise at how good it was, how different from what they had expected, how much more interesting and alive than the coffee they had known before. Each tiny win was a confirmation that the care mattered, that the attention was not wasted, that something real was being built, even if no one could yet see how far it would eventually grow. The quiet shop waits. The hum continues. The night holds us gently, and the story rests here for now. At the edge of small beginnings and first experiments, at the threshold of growth that will come slowly, naturally, like the way morning light eventually finds its way through curtains and changes the quality of the stillness without disturbing the peace. And soon, perhaps, we will drift toward those first experiments, toward the tiny winds that accumulated one by one into something larger. But not yet. Not yet. For now, there is only the quiet shop and the hum, and the soft weight of the blanket, and the easy rhythm of your breath. And that is more than enough. Small adjustments, quiet wins. The quiet coffee shop remains unchanged, holding its stillness like a promise kept. The amber lamps casting their soft pools of light across the counter that gleams faintly in the dimness, and the refrigerator continuing its low and constant hum that has become the heartbeat of this restful place. The chairs still wait in their patient rows, legs pointing upward, and the night still presses gently against the windows, neither demanding entry nor retreating, simply present in the way that night is always present when we finally stop to notice it. Everything here is as it was, as it should be, as it will remain for as long as we need it to remain. And you are still here, still resting, still settling into whatever depth of quiet feels right for you in this moment. In the early days of that small shop in the rainy city, the people who worked there were learning, not learning from books or lectures, but learning in the way that craftspeople have always learned, through doing and watching and adjusting, through paying attention to small things and noticing what happened when small things changed. They learned about grinding. They discovered that the size of the coffee grounds made a difference in how the final cup would taste. That grounds too fine would make the coffee bitter and harsh, while grounds too coarse would leave it weak and watery and somehow incomplete. The right grind was somewhere in the middle, and finding that middle required patience, required trial and error, required the willingness to make a cup of coffee that was not quite right in order to learn what right actually felt like. You don't need to think about grinding. You don't need to hold any of this information in your mind. These are just gentle shapes moving through the story, like clouds moving slowly across a sky you're watching with half-closed eyes. Interesting, perhaps, but requiring nothing from you, asking nothing of your attention or your memory. Your forehead can smooth now. The small muscles above your eyebrows, which so often furrow with concentration or concern, can release their holding and simply rest. Imagine a warm cloth placed gently across your forehead, not heavy but present, carrying a heat that soothes and softens everything it touches. The warmth spreads slowly outward, relaxing your temples, relaxing the space around your eyes, relaxing all the tiny tensions you may have been carrying without knowing you carried them. In the small shop, the learning continued. They learned about water temperature, discovering that water just off the boil was better than water at full boil, that the difference of a few degrees could change the character of the coffee in ways that were subtle but real. They learned about timing, about how long to let the water and the grounds stay in contact, about the patience required to wait for the full extraction without waiting so long that bitterness crept in. These were small adjustments, tiny calibrations, the kind of refinements that no one would notice unless they were paying very close attention. And yet these refinements added up, accumulated, created something that felt more and more consistent, more and more reliable, more and more like something you could trust to be good every single time. The aroma was part of this learning too. They paid attention to how the coffee smelled at different stages, noticing that the first bloom of scent when hot water hit fresh grounds was different from the aroma of the finished cup, and both were different from the lingering smell that stayed in a room after the coffee had been poured and enjoyed. Each aroma told a story. Each scent carried information for those who had learned to read it. And the reading was never difficult, never technical, simply a matter of noticing, of being present, of caring enough to pay attention. Imagine, if you like, a morning in that small shop. Early, before the first customers arrive, the light outside is gray and soft. The kind of light that comes filtered through clouds and mist. And inside the shop there is the quiet bustle of preparation. Though bustle is perhaps too strong a word for something so unhurried, so calm, the beans are measured into a grinder, and the grinder whirs briefly, a sound like a small motor doing its work, and then silence returns. The grounds are transferred to a filter, and hot water is poured in a slow, steady stream, spiraling gently, and the first aroma rises into the air, that unmistakable scent that says morning, that says warmth, that says a new day is beginning and there is something good to drink while it unfolds. The person preparing this coffee moves without rushing. There is a rhythm to their actions that comes from repetition, from having done this same sequence of steps many times before, and this rhythm is soothing to watch, soothing to imagine, soothing in the way that any practice skill is soothing when performed by someone who knows what they are doing and takes quiet pride in doing it well. Your hands can soften now. Let your fingers uncurl if they have been curled. Let your palms grow heavy against whatever surface they rest upon, whether that is your blanket or your mattress or simply the air on either side of your body. Your hands have done so much work today, holding things and typing things and carrying things and touching things. And now they can simply rest, simply be still, simply let go of any lingering tension they might still be holding. The coffee finishes brewing and is poured into a cup, and the cup is held in two hands, warming them, and there is a moment of stillness before the first sip, a moment of appreciation for something that was made with care, something that represents the accumulated learning of many mornings just like this one. The first sip is good. The coffee is exactly as it should be. And this small confirmation, this tiny win, is enough to start the day with a feeling of quiet satisfaction, a feeling that the effort matters, that the attention pays off, that the care invested in learning and refining and adjusting has resulted in something worth having. Let us return now to the quiet shop where we rest, where the night has deepened further and the lamps seem softer still, their amber glow barely reaching the corners of the room, leaving pockets of gentle shadow that feel more like privacy than darkness, more like rest than absence of light. The refrigerator hums, the counter gleams, the chairs wait. Outside, the weather has settled into something quiet and still. Perhaps the mist has cleared. Perhaps it has thickened. It doesn't matter. What matters is the particular quality of peace that comes when the world outside is not demanding anything from the world inside, when the boundary between them is soft and permeable and both sides are at rest. You can feel the weight of your blanket now. If you are under one, the way it drapes across your hips and your legs and your feet, this weight is grounding. This weight is an anchor. This weight says you are here. You are held. You are safe enough to let go completely. In the early days of the small shop, there were customers who began to return, not because anyone had asked them to, not because of any clever promotion or persuasive marketing, but simply because the coffee was good and the people who made it were kind. And the experience of being in that small space felt different from being in other places, felt somehow more attentive, more genuine, more worthy of the time it took to stand in line and wait and eventually walk out with a bag of beans or a cup of something warm. These returning customers became familiar faces, people whose preferences were remembered, people who could walk in and receive a nod of recognition, a smile that said, "We know you. We're glad you're here. We remember how you like your coffee, and we've already started preparing it." This familiarity was its own kind of gift, a small intimacy that brightened the day for everyone involved, that made the shop feel less like a place of transaction and more like a place of connection. The familiar orders became a kind of rhythm, a pattern that the people working in the shop could predict and prepare for, knowing that certain customers would arrive at certain times and want certain things. And this predictability was not boring, but comforting. Not limiting, but freeing, because it meant that attention could be given to the quality of the preparation rather than to the uncertainty of what would be needed next. A steadier routine emerged, flowing naturally from the combination of learning and repetition, from the accumulation of small adjustments that had been made and tested and refined over time. The coffee was consistent now in a way that it hadn't been at the very beginning. Not because anyone had imposed a rigid formula, but because the people making it had developed an intuition, a feel for what was right, a sense that came from their hands and their noses and their eyes, as much as from any conscious thought. This consistency was a quiet victory. No one celebrated it. No one announced it. It simply existed, a foundation beneath everything else. A reliability that customers could count on without having to think about it. The way you might count on a favorite chair to be comfortable without having to evaluate it each time you sat down. The quiet shop holds us still. The lamps glow. The hum continues. And somewhere in the story, somewhere in the past that we have been gently visiting, the small shop in the rainy city was beginning to feel like something more than just a place to buy coffee. Was beginning to feel like a place where people wanted to linger, wanted to stay, wanted to be present in a way that was different from being present in other shops or offices or public spaces. This feeling was hard to name. It wasn't home. Exactly, because home is private, and this was public. It wasn't work, because work is obligated, and this was chosen. It was something in between, a third kind of place, neither fully private nor fully public. neither required nor forbidden, simply available, simply welcoming, simply there for anyone who wanted what it offered. The realization of this feeling came slowly, the way all important realizations come slowly when they are genuine rather than forced, when they emerge from experience rather than from theory, when they are discovered rather than invented. The people who ran the small shop began to notice that customers were staying longer, were sitting at the small tables that had been added almost as an afterthought, were reading newspapers or writing in journals, or simply looking out the window at the rain that fell so often in that city. And they seemed content to be there, seemed grateful for the permission to exist in a space that was neither their home nor their workplace, but something else entirely, something needed, something that had perhaps always been needed, but had not always been available. Your body can continue to soften as we rest here together, your muscles releasing just a little more with each slow exhale, your bones settling more heavily into whatever holds you, your whole self growing quieter and more still in sympathy with the quiet stillness of this imagined place where lamps glow soft and counters gleam, and the night asks nothing of us except that we allow it to pass. The quiet shop at night is a version of that third place, a space where you are welcome without obligation, where you can rest without expectation, where the hum of the refrigerator and the gleam of the counter and the soft amber light create a container for whatever peace you need to find. And in the story we have been telling, the story of small beginnings and careful learning and tiny wins that accumulated into something larger, there is a bridge appearing now, a connection between what was and what would become, between the small shop where beans were sold and the feeling of a place where people wanted to stay, and the slow growth that would eventually carry this idea outward into new streets and new cities and new lives, but always carrying with it that same sense of care, that same attention to quality, that same invitation to linger in a space that was neither home nor work, but something third, something warm, something good. We will follow that slow growth soon. Perhaps we will watch it unfold like a plant growing in gentle time lapse. Like seasons changing so slowly you can barely perceive the movement. But not yet. Not quite yet. For now, there is only the quiet shop and the hum and the soft light and the weight of the blanket and the easy rhythm of your breath. And somewhere in the distance, like a light seen through fog, the gentle promise of a third place feeling that was just beginning to be understood. A third kind of place. The quiet coffee shop holds its peace, as it has held it all along. The amber lamps, glowing their patient glow, the counter gleaming its soft gleam, and the refrigerator humming its endless hum that has become so familiar now it feels like silence, like the absence of sound rather than its presence. The chairs remain in their rows, legs upward, waiting without impatience, and the night continues its slow work of deepening outside the windows, where the weather has shifted again, the mist giving way to a gentle stillness, a hush that feels almost like the moment before snow, though no snow falls, only quiet, only the particular peace that comes when the world holds its breath and finds it doesn't need to exhale. You are still here, still resting, still welcome in this space that asks nothing of you. And the story continues, moving forward through time, the way time moves when we are not watching it closely, which is to say gently, gradually, in accumulations so small they are barely perceptible, until suddenly you look back and realize that everything has changed, though nothing seemed to change while it was happening. The small shop in the rainy city did not stay small forever. But the growth that came was not sudden, not explosive, not the kind of growth that disrupts and overwhelms. It was more like the growth of a tree, imperceptible from day to day, visible only across seasons and years. A slow accumulation of rings beneath the bark, each one representing another period of patient expansion. A second location opened, somewhere else in the same city, and this opening was less a triumph than a continuation, less an event than a next step in a process that had already been unfolding for some time. The people who had learned to roast and grind and brew in the first shop brought their knowledge to the second, and the knowledge traveled easily because it had been earned through experience rather than imposed through rules, because it lived in their hands and their senses, rather than only in manuals and checklists. It's perfectly fine if you're not following the details of this expansion. It's perfectly fine if the words are washing over you like gentle waves, carrying you somewhere without requiring you to navigate. The story knows where it's going. You can simply rest and let it take you there. The second shop felt like the first shop. Not identical, because no two spaces are ever truly identical, but carrying the same essential qualities, the same attention to the beans and the brewing, the same warmth in how customers were greeted, The same sense that being here was different from being in other places, that something careful and genuine was being offered alongside the coffee. This consistency was not accidental. It came from training, from the patient work of teaching new people what the original people had learned, passing along not just techniques but also values, not just how to do things but also why they mattered. The training was never harsh, never rushed, never accompanied by the stress of impossible deadlines or the pressure of unrealistic expectations. It was more like mentorship, like the way a craft is passed from one generation of practitioners to the next, with time allowed for questions and mistakes, and the slow development of competence that cannot be hurried. Your breath can deepen now, if it wants to. Your belly can rise and fall with each inhale and exhale. And this deeper breathing is a signal to your body that all is well, that there is no need for the shallow, quick breaths that accompany stress and alertness. You can breathe as if you have all the time in the world, because in this moment, resting here, you do. Time passed. More locations opened. Still within the same city at first, then eventually in other cities nearby, places where the rain fell often, or where the clouds hung low, or where the people had the same appreciation for something warm to drink, while the weather outside did what it would do regardless of human wishes or plans. Each new location was prepared with the same care that had characterized the first and the second, which is to say, slowly, attentively, with concern for the details that might seem small to someone who wasn't paying attention, but that added up to something significant for anyone who was. The wood of the counters was chosen thoughtfully. The lighting was considered from multiple angles. The chairs were tested for comfort, and the tables were spaced to allow for both conversation and solitude, depending on what each customer needed on any given day. The atmosphere of these places began to develop a certain consistency, not because someone had mandated uniformity, but because the same values kept expressing themselves in similar ways. The way a person's handwriting remains recognizable across different documents, even as each instance varies slightly. You could walk into one of these shops in one city and then into another shop in another city and feel that you had arrived somewhere familiar, somewhere that understood what you were looking for even if you couldn't quite articulate it yourself. This familiarity was valuable, not in a monetary sense, though that may have been true as well, but in a human sense, in the way that familiarity is always valuable to creatures who navigate a world full of uncertainty and change. To know that a certain kind of experience awaited you that a certain quality of coffee and warmth and welcome could be counted on. This was a small gift that these places offered, a reliability that asked nothing in return except your presence. Let us return for a moment to the quiet shop where we rest, where the night has settled fully now into its deepest expression. The darkness outside, complete and comfortable, and somehow reassuring in its completeness. The lamps still glow, though they seem dimmer than before. Or perhaps your eyes have simply adjusted to the lower light in the way that happens naturally as sleep approaches. The counter still gleams, reflecting those soft amber pools in its polished surface. The refrigerator still hums, and if you listen closely, though there is no need to listen closely, you might notice that the hum has a quality almost like breathing, like the slow inhale and exhale of something large and peaceful that shares this space with you. Outside, the weather has settled into a hush that could be anything. Could be the quiet before rain, or the stillness of a clear, cold night, or the particular muffled quality that comes when snow is falling somewhere nearby. Close enough to affect the air, but not close enough to be seen. Whatever it is calm. Whatever it is safe. The windows hold the boundary between inside and outside, and both sides of that boundary are at rest. Your thoughts can settle like steam dissipating above a warm cup, rising gently and then fading into the air, leaving behind only stillness, only the quiet surface of something that has stopped moving. You don't need to hold on to any thought. You don't need to follow any thread of reasoning to its conclusion. The thoughts can rise and fade and rise and fade. And you can simply watch them go. Simply let them leave. Simply rest in the spaces between them. In the story of the growing shops, there was a feeling that began to be named, though the naming came slowly and without fanfare, without the sense that something important was being discovered. The feeling was this, that these places offered something between home and work. A third kind of space where the rules were different from both, where you were neither host nor guest, neither employee nor employer, simply a person in a warm place with good coffee, free to stay or go as you pleased. This third place, as some began to call it, filled a need that many people didn't know they had until they found it filled. It was a place to meet a friend without the obligations of hosting them in your home. It was a place to sit alone without the loneliness of being alone in a truly public space. It was a place to read or write or think or simply exist, surrounded by the gentle activity of others doing the same. a kind of solitude that was not isolation, a kind of company that made no demands. The warmth of these places was both literal and figurative. The coffee warmed hands that had grown cold from walking outside in gray weather. The atmosphere warmed something else, something harder to name, something to do with feeling welcome and valued and comfortable in a space that was neither yours nor anyone else's but everyone's together. The quiet shop holds us as the story rests. The lamps glow. The hum continues. The night presses softly against the windows. And somewhere outside there is weather. Gentle weather. Perhaps rain, or perhaps stillness, or perhaps that hush-like snow that never quite arrives, but makes the air feel thick and quiet and held. You can feel the weight of your body now, the full weight of it, the way it presses into whatever holds you, heavy and warm and completely supported. This weight is not a burden. This weight is a gift, a confirmation of your presence, a grounding that connects you to the earth beneath you and the night around you and the slow turning of the world that continues whether you are awake to witness it or not. The story will continue to unfold, carrying us gently through the growing years, through the careful work of maintaining quality while expanding reach, through the steady accumulation of locations and customers and moments of warmth in a world that can sometimes feel cold. We will watch as values are tested, as consistency is challenged, as the original vision finds ways to persist, even as everything around it changes. But that watching will be gentle, that watching will be calm. There will be no stress in the telling, no urgency in the unfolding, no pressure to arrive anywhere quickly or to understand anything completely. The story will simply continue, like the hum of the refrigerator, like the glow of the lamps, like the steady rhythm of your breath that has found its own pace now and needs no guidance from you to maintain it. And somewhere ahead, still soft and distant, there is a bridge toward the values that held steady through growth. The principles that remained even as everything else expanded. The quiet commitment to quality and care that made these places feel like themselves, no matter where they were or how many of them there came to be. But that bridge can wait. That understanding can arrive when it arrives. For now, there is only the quiet shop and the hum and the soft light and the weight of your body at rest, and the gentle knowledge that everything here is peaceful. Everything here is still, and the night has all the time in the world to carry you wherever you need to go. Patience, cleanliness, care. The quiet coffee shop continues its patient vigil through the night, the amber lamps, casting their familiar pools of warmth across surfaces that have been wiped and polished until they hold the light like something precious. And the refrigerator humming its one endless note that has become so woven into the silence that the two are now indistinguishable. Silence and hum, hum and silence. A single fabric of sound and stillness. The chairs rest in their rows, unchanged, and outside the windows, the weather has shifted once more. The hush that felt like snow giving way to something softer still. A quiet that is simply quiet, neither anticipating nor following anything. Just the deep calm of a night that has forgotten urgency entirely. You are still here. You are still welcome. You are still held by this moment that asks nothing except your rest. As the small company grew into something larger, as the shops multiplied and spread across cities and eventually across regions, there were moments when things did not go perfectly. This is inevitable in any endeavor that involves people and processes and the countless small decisions that must be made each day. Perfection is not a destination that can be reached and held. It is more like a direction, something to move toward, something to orient by, even knowing that the movement will never be complete. There were times when the coffee in a particular location was not quite as good as it should have been. Perhaps the beans had been stored slightly too long, or the grind had drifted slightly from where it should have been, or the person preparing the drink was new and still learning and had not yet developed the intuition that comes from repetition and practice. These were small variations, barely noticeable to most customers, but noticeable enough to the people who cared, to the managers and trainers who had developed sensitive Pilates and a commitment to consistency that made even minor deviations feel significant. You don't need to worry about these variations. You don't need to hold any concern for problems that arose and were solved long ago, in places far from here, in times that have already passed into memory. The story mentions them only to acknowledge that growth is never perfectly smooth, that learning continues even after the basics have been mastered, that the work of maintaining quality is never finished but must be renewed each day. Each cup, each interaction. The quiet puzzle of inconsistency was met with quiet resolution. The beans were checked, the grinder was adjusted, the training was revisited. Someone took the time to stand beside the person who was still learning and show them once more how to recognize when the shot was pulling correctly, how to listen for the particular sound of steam at the right pressure, how to watch for the visual cues that indicated everything was as it should be. The lesson was given gently, without criticism, without shame, simply an offering of knowledge from someone who had learned to someone who was still learning, the same way knowledge had been passed along since the very beginning. And then routine returned. The coffee was good again, consistent again, and the small mistake became part of the larger process of improvement, a data point in the ongoing refinement that is the nature of any craft practiced over time. Your legs can begin to relax now. If they haven't already, the muscles of your thighs releasing their tension, the weight of your upper legs settling more heavily into whatever surface supports them. You might notice that your legs have been holding some effort, some readiness, some preparation to move or stand or walk, and you can let that preparation go now. There is nowhere you need to walk tonight. There is nowhere you need to go. Your legs can simply rest, simply be still, simply let the night hold them as the night holds everything else. In the growing company, there were other quiet puzzles that arose and found their quiet resolutions. There were questions about how to maintain the warmth of welcome as more and more customers passed through the doors. How to ensure that each person felt seen and valued, even in a shop that was busier than the original small location had ever been. Even when there was a line, even when the morning rush meant that efficiency became necessary alongside care, the resolution came through training, always through training. Through the patient work of helping each new person understand that speed and warmth were not opposites, that a genuine smile could be offered in the same moment that a cup was being filled, that the eyes could meet the customer's eyes even while the hands were doing their practiced work with espresso and steam and the familiar rhythm of drink preparation. This too was a craft. Like the coffee itself, it required practice. It required attention. It required the willingness to try and fail and try again until the movements became natural, until the warmth became automatic, until the welcome felt genuine because it had become genuine, woven into the muscles and habits of each person who stood behind the counter and served. Let us return to the quiet shop for a moment, to rest in its stillness, to listen to the sounds that fill the silence without disturbing it. The refrigerator hums. This hum is so constant, so reliable, so utterly without variation, that it becomes a kind of anchor point for the ears, something to rest against, something to lean into when the silence might otherwise feel too empty. The hum is company. The hum is presence. The hum is the sound of machinery doing its patient work through the night, keeping things cool and preserved and ready for tomorrow. And underneath the hum, If you listen very gently, there are other sounds. The faint tick of cooling metal somewhere, perhaps in the walls, perhaps in the espresso machine that powered down hours ago and is still releasing the last of its residual heat into the air around it. Tick, a pause. Tick, another pause. Not regular, not predictable, just occasional, just the physics of contraction as temperature equalizes, just the small sounds of a building settling into its nighttime rest. From somewhere beyond the walls, there might be the distant hush of traffic, though traffic is perhaps too strong a word for something so soft. So far away, so reduced by distance and walls and the general dampening quality of the night. It is more like the memory of traffic, the ghost of movement, a reminder that the world continues somewhere out there while this small space remains still. These sounds layer together into something that is not quite music, but has some of the same qualities. A composition of hums and ticks and distant hushes that holds the space, that fills the silence without crowding it, that creates an auditory environment in which rest feels natural, feels invited, feels like the only reasonable response. The values that guided the growing company were simple values, the kind that could be expressed in plain words and understood by anyone who cared to listen. Patience was one of them. The recognition that good things take time, that rushing produces results that are adequate at best and often worse than adequate, that the extra moment spent ensuring something is right is never a moment wasted. Cleanliness was another value, perhaps less glamorous but no less important. The shops were kept clean, not because anyone was watching, not because cleanliness was measured and reported and tied to consequences, but because cleanliness mattered, because a clean space felt different from a dirty one, because customers could sense the difference even if they couldn't articulate it, and the people who worked in these spaces could sense it too, could feel a kind of pride in maintaining an environment that was worthy of the care that went into the coffee. Steadiness was valued, the quality of being reliable, of showing up each day with the same commitment regardless of mood or circumstance, of providing a consistent experience that customers could count on. This steadiness was not rigid or mechanical. It was more like the steadiness of a heartbeat, something that continues without fanfare, something that underlies everything else, something whose presence is noticed only when it falters. And care in small details was valued above almost everything else. The way a cup was handed to a customer, the way a name was pronounced, the way a spill was cleaned immediately rather than ignored, the way a lid was placed securely rather than carelessly. These small things added up. They accumulated into an overall impression that could not be reduced to any single element, but depended on all of them. A gestalt of quality that was felt more than analyzed, experienced more than described. Your calves can soften now, the muscles of your lower legs releasing whatever tension they might still be holding, the weight of your calves pressing gently into the mattress or cushion beneath them. And your feet can let go entirely, the arches relaxing, the toes uncurling, the ankles settling into positions of complete rest. Your feet have carried you all day, have supported your weight, have taken step after step in the endless work of moving through the world. And now they can simply stop, simply rest, simply be still. There were moments when the commitment to values was tested, when the pressure to grow faster or cut costs might have tempted some to compromise on quality, to accept something less than the standard that had been established, to take shortcuts that would have been invisible to most observers but felt by those who cared. These moments came and went, and each time the decision was made to hold steady, to maintain the standard, to trust that quality mattered more than speed, that consistency mattered more than the savings that might have come from inconsistency. These decisions were not dramatic. They were not announced or celebrated. They were simply made quietly by people who had internalized the values and understood that the values were not obstacles to success but foundations of it. Not constraints to be worked around, but principles to be honored. A supplier who offered cheaper beans of lower quality was politely declined. A proposal to speed up training by cutting certain elements was considered and rejected. A suggestion to reduce the time spent on cleaning between rushes was met with the gentle reminder that cleanliness was not optional, that the standard existed for a reason, that the short-term gain was not worth the long-term cost. And then routine continued. The coffee was made with care. The shops were kept clean. The customers were welcomed with warmth that was genuine because it had been practiced until it became genuine. The puzzle of competing pressures found its resolution in the steady application of values. And the values held, and everything continued as it should. The quiet shop holds its stillness as the story rests here for a moment. As we breathe together in this space, where the lamps glow soft and the counter gleams, and the refrigerator hums its patient hum. Outside, the night has reached its deepest point. The hour when even the distant hush of traffic has faded to almost nothing. When the world beyond the windows feels as still as the world within them. The weather is neither rain nor mist nor the hush of snow, just quiet air, just the particular quality of a night that has fully arrived and will remain for hours yet before the first hint of morning begins to change it. The chairs wait in their rows. The espresso machine stands silent and cool. Somewhere, a drop of water that has been gathering very slowly at the edge of a faucet finally releases and falls with the softest sound into the basin below. A tiny punctuation in the ongoing sentence of silence. A small letting go that echoes the larger letting go of the night itself. You are held here. You are welcome here. Your body is heavy and warm and completely at rest. And your breath continues its gentle rhythm without any effort from you. And your thoughts can drift like steam rising from a cup, visible for a moment and then dissolving into the air, leaving nothing behind but stillness. The story has carried us through early beginnings and careful learning, through growth and consistency, and the quiet work of maintaining values, even as everything expanded. We have watched small puzzles find their quiet resolutions, have seen the steady accumulation of care in small details build into something larger, something recognizable, something that became part of the everyday landscape for many people in many places. And ahead, waiting gently, like a lamp in a window seen from a distance on a dark road, there are the modern scenes of everyday comfort, the familiar moments that people experience now in these places, the morning routines and afternoon pauses and evening winds down that have become part of how millions of people move through their days. But those scenes will arrive when they arrive, softly, without hurry, the way morning arrives after a long night of rest. For now, there is only the quiet shop and the hum and the soft light and the deep stillness of a night that holds everything gently and asks nothing in return. Warm cup, cool air. The quiet coffee shop remains, as it has remained throughout this long and gentle night. The amber lamps still casting their soft pools of warmth across the counter that gleams with the particular patience of surfaces that have been cared for, and the refrigerator still humming its single continuous note that has become so familiar it no longer registers as sound but simply as presence, as company, as the quiet breath of a space at rest. The chairs still point their legs upward in neat rows. And outside the windows, the night continues, deep and full. The weather settled into a stillness that carries neither rain nor wind nor any movement at all. Just the held quality of air that has forgotten how to stir. You are still here, still resting, still welcome in this space that has held you through all the wandering of the story. And now let us imagine the modern moments, the everyday scenes that unfold in places like this one, though we will imagine them softly, gently, without crowds or noise, or the particular energy that comes when such places are at their busiest. We will imagine them as they exist in the quieter hours, the liminal times, the moments before and after the rush when everything is calmer and slower and more available for noticing. Imagine an early morning, very early, the kind of morning that still feels like night at its edges, when the sky is just beginning to lighten from black to the deepest blue, and the street lamps are still on, and the world has that particular quality of being not quite awake, not quite ready to begin whatever the day will bring. A person walks through this early morning, their breath visible in the cool air, their hands tucked into pockets for warmth, their steps unhurried, because there is time yet. There is always time in these quiet moments before the day truly begins. They walk toward a shop where the lights are already on, where someone has arrived even earlier to prepare, to set things in motion, to create the warmth that will soon be offered to those who seek it. The door opens and warmth spills out, a physical thing, a change in temperature that can be felt immediately against the skin of the face and hands. A welcome that is thermal before it is verbal. A greeting from the space itself before any person has spoken. The details of what is ordered can blur. It doesn't matter whether it was this drink or that drink, this size or that size. What matters is the moment after, when a cup is placed in waiting hands, and the warmth of that cup transfers immediately through the palms, through the fingers, into the body itself, a small infusion of heat that counters the cool morning air that still lingers on the skin. The weight of the cup is grounding. You might feel that weight now. If you imagine it, the particular heft of a full cup held in both hands, substantial but not heavy, warm but not hot, exactly right for cradling, exactly right for holding close while the body slowly adjusts from the cool outside to the warm inside. It's perfectly fine if you're not following every detail of these scenes. It's perfectly fine if the images are blurring together, softening at their edges, becoming more like feelings than pictures. That is how it should be. The details can blur. The specifics can fade. What remains is the essence, the warmth, the quiet, the sense of small rituals that bring comfort to ordinary days. The person with the warm cup finds a seat near a window, and they sit and they simply hold the cup for a moment before drinking. Simply feel its warmth radiating into their palms. Simply watch the early morning light beginning to change the quality of the darkness outside from something solid to something that might eventually give way today. This is a ritual, not a grand ritual, not a ceremonial ritual, just a small personal ritual that this person has performed many times before and will perform many times again, a familiar pattern that provides a kind of structure to the morning, a known quantity in a world full of unknowns. The cup is warm. The seat is familiar. The light is changing in the way it always changes. And for this moment, everything is exactly as it should be. Your own hands can feel heavy now, resting wherever they rest, carrying the imagined warmth of that cup, even if no cup is present. Feeling the weight of your own fingers and palms against whatever surface holds them. This heaviness is pleasant. This heaviness is restful. This heaviness is your body telling you that it is ready to be still, ready to stop holding and gripping and reaching, ready to simply rest. Let us return briefly to the quiet shop after closing, to touch the anchor before we drift again, to remember the stillness that waits for us whenever we need it. The lamps glow. The counter gleams. The hum continues. Outside, the night is unchanged, deep and full and patient, and the weather remains still. Neither rain nor wind, nor anything that might disturb the perfect calm of this space. The chairs rest in their rows. The espresso machine stands silent. Everything here is exactly as it was, exactly as it will remain, a fixed point in the wandering of the story, a place you can return to whenever the drifting becomes too much, whenever you need something solid and familiar and still. Now imagine a different moment later in the day, or perhaps in a different day entirely. It doesn't matter. The time is soft and unspecific. The hour is whichever hour feels right to you. Someone sits at a table with books or papers spread before them. Though the books and papers are not the focus, not really. The focus is the quality of the light that falls through the window onto the table, warm and gentle, and the quality of the quiet that surrounds this person, even though they are not alone, even though others are present somewhere nearby, moving and speaking in low voices that blend together into a kind of background murmur that is more like silence than sound. This person is studying, perhaps, or working, or simply sitting with the intention of studying or working, while actually just being present. Just existing in a space that is neither home nor office, but something third. Something that allows for a different kind of attention, a different kind of presence. A cup sits on the table, half finished, and the warmth has faded from it now. But the person hasn't noticed, hasn't minded, because the cup was never really about the warmth or the drink inside it. It was about the permission, the ticket of entry, the small transaction that allowed them to claim this table and this seat and this particular quality of light and quiet for as long as they needed it. You don't need to track the details of what this person is studying or working on. The content doesn't matter. What matters is the feeling of being somewhere that supports this kind of quiet attention. Somewhere that doesn't demand productivity, but allows for it. Somewhere that is warm and lit and filled with the low murmur of others doing similar things. A community of people who are alone together, each in their own bubble of focus, but connected by the shared space that holds them all. And another moment, softer still. Evening now, or late afternoon, that feels like evening. The light outside fading, the sky turning colors that no longer need to be named. Just the gradual dimming that comes as the earth turns and the sun drops below whatever horizon is visible from whatever window is nearest. Someone stands at a counter waiting for a drink. And while they wait, they simply look out the window at the changing light, at the people passing on the sidewalk outside, at the particular quality of the day's ending that is different from every other day's ending, and yet somehow always the same. The drink is ready. It is placed in their hand, and again there is that transfer of warmth, that moment of thermal greeting between the cup and the palm, that small physical pleasure that needs no explanation and asks for no analysis, simply warmth, simply comfort. Simply a nice thing at the end of a long day. This person takes their drink and walks out into the cool air, and the contrast is immediate and pleasant. The warm cup in the hands and the cool air on the face, two different temperatures existing at once. Both of them, right? Both of them good. The body held between warmth and coolness in a way that feels balanced, that feels complete. The walk home, or wherever they are going, is gentle. The cup provides company. The warmth provides comfort. The evening light provides a kind of beauty that doesn't demand to be noticed, but rewards those who do notice. The soft colors and long shadows and gradual deepening that will eventually become night. You might feel something similar now, a sense of being held between states, between waking and sleeping, between attention and rest, between following the story and letting it go. This in-between place is comfortable. This in-between place is safe. You can stay here as long as you like, neither fully one thing nor fully another, simply resting in the transition. Let's return once more to the quiet shop, to the anchor that has held us through all this wandering. The lamps glow their amber glow. The counter gleams its soft gleam. The refrigerator hums its patient hum. And the sound is so familiar now that it feels like your own breathing, like something internal rather than external, like a rhythm that belongs to you rather than to the space around you. The chairs rest in their rows. The night presses gently against the windows. And outside, the weather has shifted one more time, so subtly that the shift is barely noticeable. The stillness giving way to the faintest movement of air, not wind, but something softer, just a stirring, just a breath, just the atmosphere adjusting itself in ways too small to perceive, but real nonetheless. You can feel the weight of your blanket now. If you are under one, the way it drapes across your body like a gentle pressure, like a held embrace, like the cup in the hands of the person walking home through the cooling evening. This weight is grounding. This weight is comforting. This weight says, you are here. You are held. You are safe to let go completely. One more modern moment, the quietest of all. Late at night, very late, later than anyone should be awake, but sometimes we are. Sometimes sleep has not come, and we find ourselves still conscious in the deep hours, needing something, seeking something, not quite sure what. A person sits at a window table in a place that is nearly empty, one of those locations that stays open later than the others, a refuge for the sleepless, a harbor for those who are not yet ready to go home, or cannot go home, or simply want to be somewhere that is not home, somewhere else, somewhere third. The window is cool against a hand that reaches out to touch it, the glass carrying the temperature of the night outside, and this coolness is pleasant against skin that is warm from being indoors. A small sensory pleasure that costs nothing and requires nothing except noticing. The shop is quiet. The few others present are wrapped in their own thoughts, their own silences, and there is no need to speak, no expectation of interaction, just a shared agreement to be quiet together, to exist in parallel without intersection, to let the night be what it is. This is a kind of peace that is hard to find elsewhere. This is a kind of belonging that asks nothing. This is the third place, at its most essential, neither home nor work, neither private nor public, just a space where a person can simply be without explanation or justification or the need to perform anything at all. The quiet shop holds us as the story grows very still now, as the wandering through modern moments comes to rest, as the images fade and blur and dissolve into something more like feeling than picture. The lamps are dim. The hum is soft. The night outside is complete, as deep and full as it will get before the first impossible to notice hints of morning begin their slow work of changing it. The chairs wait. The counter gleams. Everything here is ready for rest, ready for the long, quiet hours, ready for whatever comes next, which is nothing, which is simply more stillness, more peace, more of this gentle emptiness that asks nothing and offers everything. And ahead, waiting like sleep itself, there is the final reflection, the deep fade, the settling into whatever rest you are ready for now. We are approaching the end of the wandering, the point where the story releases you into sleep, where the words become softer and softer until they are barely distinguishable from silence. But not yet, not quite yet. There is a little more stillness to share, a little more quiet to hold, a little more of this gentle night before we let it carry you completely away. For now, just rest. For now, just breathe. For now, just let the quiet shop hold you, and the hum accompany you, and the soft amber light remind you that everything here is peaceful. Everything here is still, and sleep, when it comes, will be as gentle as this night, as warm as a cup held in waiting hands, as welcoming as a place that has always been ready for you to arrive into deep and gentle sleep. The quiet coffee shop holds its final stillness now, the amber lamps glowing at their softest, barely more than a suggestion of light, and the refrigerator humming its endless note that has become indistinguishable from the silence itself. Two things that are one thing, sound and quiet, woven together into a single fabric of peace. The chairs rest in their patient rows. The counter gleams, its gentle gleam, and outside the windows, the night has reached its deepest expression, neither early nor late anymore. Simply night, simply dark, simply the held breath of a world that has finally stopped moving. You have been here all along. You have been held all along. And now the story grows very quiet, very still, very ready to release you into sleep. We have traveled together through a gentle telling, through the soft shapes of a story that began with small things and grew into familiar things. And now the details can fade. The specifics can blur. The names and dates and places can dissolve like steam rising from a cup and dispersing into air. What remains is simpler. What remains is feeling. There were small beginnings. Somewhere, sometime, people who cared about something enough to do it well. There was learning, patient and slow, the kind of learning that comes from paying attention and making adjustments and trying again. There was growth, steady and calm, the accumulation of care across time and distance until something familiar emerged, something recognizable, something that became part of how many people moved through their days. And there was a feeling, a third place feeling, neither home nor work, but something between a pause, a rest, a warm space where a person could simply be without having to explain or justify or become anything other than what they already were. That feeling is here now. In this quiet shop, in this deep night, in this moment where the story releases its hold on facts and settles into something softer, something closer to sleep. Your breath can slow now. If it hasn't already, matching the rhythm of this quiet space, matching the gentle hum that fills the silence without disturbing it. Each inhale can be easy, unhurried, like air drifting through an open door. Each exhale can be complete, releasing everything that no longer needs to be held, letting go the way steam lets go of a warm cup and rises and fades and is gone. Breathe like the soft hum of the refrigerator, steady and continuous and requiring nothing from you. Breathe like the stillness of the night outside, deep and full and patient. Breathe. And now, as your breathing continues its gentle rhythm, let us move through your body one last time, softening each part, releasing each held place, preparing everything for rest. Begin with your feet, those faithful carriers that have brought you through so many days. Let them grow heavy now, heavy and warm, sinking gently into whatever holds them. Your feet can be like the chairs in this quiet shop, finally at rest after the day's work, finally still, finally released from all effort. The arches soften, The toes uncurl. The ankles let go. Your feet are at rest. Now your legs, your calves, and your thighs, the long muscles that have worked so hard to carry you, let them release their holding. Let them grow heavy against the surface beneath you. Let them settle like coffee grounds, drifting slowly to the bottom of a cup, finding their natural place of rest. The weight of your legs is pleasant. The stillness of your legs is complete. Your legs are at rest. Your hips can release now, the joints softening, the deep muscles letting go of tensions they may have been holding for hours or days or longer. Your hips can settle into the support beneath you, trusting it completely, surrendering to gravity, to stillness, to the gentle pull of rest. Your hips are at rest. Your belly can soften, the muscles of your abdomen releasing their guard, allowing your breath to drop deeper into your body, filling spaces that may have been held tight. Your belly can be like the quiet air of this shop, still and soft and undisturbed. Your belly is at rest. Your chest can ease, the muscles between your ribs letting go. Your heart continuing its steady work without any need for your attention. Your chest rises and falls with each breath, and each breath is easy. Each breath is enough. Your chest is at rest. Your shoulders can drop, releasing down away from your ears, melting toward the surface that holds you. Your shoulders have carried so much, and now they can stop carrying. They can simply rest like cups placed carefully on a shelf, clean and ready and still. Your shoulders are at rest. Your arms can grow heavy, from shoulder to elbow to wrist, sinking gently into whatever holds them. And your hands, your dear hands that do so much, they can open and soften, the fingers uncurling, the palms growing warm and heavy. Your hands can be like the stillness after the last customer has gone, like the quiet after the last task is done. Your arms and hands are at rest. Your neck can release, the small muscles that hold your head softening, trusting the pillow to do its work. And your jaw can let go, the teeth slightly parted, the tongue resting easy, the whole lower face softening and growing still. Your neck and jaw are at rest. And finally, your eyes. Your eyelids can be heavy now, so heavy, resting closed with no effort to open them. No need to see anything. Your forehead smooths. The space between your eyebrows widens. Your whole face becomes soft, becomes still, becomes a mask of peace. Your eyes are at rest. All of you is at rest now. All of you is held. The quiet shop holds its silence. The hum continues, soft and steady, like breathing, like the rhythm of something alive and at peace. The lamps glow their amber glow, barely there, just enough light to suggest warmth without asking anything of your attention. The chairs wait in their rows. The counter gleams. The night outside is deep. Your thoughts can settle now. Like grounds after brewing, drifting slowly down, coming to rest at the bottom while everything above grows clear and still. You don't need to follow any thought. You don't need to remember anything. You can simply rest. The story is complete now. The words are growing fewer, softer, further apart. There is nothing more to know. There is nothing more to do. There is only the quiet shop, only the hum, only the soft light, only the night, and you here, resting, safe, held, ready for sleep. The lamps dim further, or perhaps your eyes are simply closing more completely. It doesn't matter which. The hum fades to something barely there. The stillness deepens. Sleep is near now. Sleep is here. Let it come. Let it hold you. Let the night carry you gently through whatever dreams may come. Rest well. The quiet shop will be here if you need it. The warmth will wait. The stillness will remain. Good night.